Welcome to the Music You're Missing podcast. Ali Cesare, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Before we get started, have you ever done a podcast before?
I've only done one podcast over Zoom in like 2019. So this is my first official sit down, mic in my face, over the earphones, ready to rip.
First time you can hear Ali Cesare in half of a decade.
Yeah. So thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you because I think what you do in the industry is something like a lot of people dream of, and it's really interesting. It's going to be interesting to hear the reality of that because it is really cool. It is a dream job, but with anything, there is obviously like responsibility. So I'm interested in learning more.
Yay.
And that said dream job that we're talking about is you are a VIP tour rep.
I am. That is what I do. Kind of feels funny saying that because I didn't really ever believe it until like a couple shows, tours in. I was like, oh wait, this is kind of like my job, ? But yeah, I make money. I have a real contract. I do real things.
Yeah.
I guess that's a job, right? You know? So yeah, I enjoy it. So it's been exciting, and here we are almost, I think it's going to be my 4th tour coming out. So yeah.
Heck yeah. So, I mean, before we get like fully into it, what does VIP tour rep actually do? What does that role entail?
Yeah, so it entails a rep, 2 reps, maybe 3 reps, going out with a specific artist and pretty much leading the fan to have a seamless night. So meaning they purchase a VIP ticket, they go into the show, they're ready to have the experience of a lifetime. Every show is different. Sometimes they have a lounge, so that means you would check them in, you get them to their lounge, you get them kind of like the swag bag. Maybe they have early merch shopping, you direct them to there. Maybe they even get to go on the stage, take a picture. There's possibility that they get to meet the artist. So it's really just guiding the fan to have that like ultimate VIP experience. And as my role, my job, I have to make sure everything runs smooth. It doesn't always, but making sure that they get what they paid for. They come in, they feel welcomed, and any questions that they may have, we always are able to answer it. Trying to go above and beyond, I guess, is what we do as well. But it's essentially just making sure, whether it's their first concert or their 140th concert, that I literally met some people at a concert that was 140th concert of the same artist. Crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's insane. But I love it. I love the passion. So yeah, just making sure they have a good time and whatever we can do on the ground to help them. That's what we do.
And you're on the road.
On the road, yeah. So some reps aren't on the road, meaning some reps will get asked to work shows kind of locally, which is awesome. But for myself, I am a like on the road rep. So I live in a bus, maybe if it's a tour that's flying, live in the air, do a Sprinter van, whatever it may be that the tour entails. That's kind of where I am and where I live.
Yeah. Wait, so what's life like on the road when you have off days? I think something that I've learned from talking to people and just these artists and doing podcasts is a lot of people think that life on the road is like vacation all the time when you're not working.
And I love that thought.
Yeah,
I love
just
that.
A thought. Am I wrong in saying that's probably not correct?
You're not wrong at all. I think that in a sense, show days are really high highs, and it's kind of, you can fall into a trap of getting into low lows on off days. And I think on my first couple tours I did, because I didn't know how to find balance. I wasn't essentially working out like I wanted to. You don't see your friends all the time. It's hard to make the connections with just the people in your life. So for me, I definitely am going to make an effort on this next tour to get that routine. If I really don't want to get up, give myself some rest, but getting to the gym, calling my parents, checking with everybody at home, seeing sights in the city that I'm in, spending that money on the Uber because I'm here and I'm in Salt Lake City. I'm going to go see High School Musical, okay? Even if it's like 20 minutes out, it's fine. So I think just finding the balance, it's meeting people, it's doing what you feel is comfortable for you, not really, I guess, falling into the pressures of also, I have to hang out with everybody because, I really want to make all these friends. Like, you'll have your time to, I think, meet the people that you want to meet, depending on also how long the duration of the tour is. But I think it's finding the balance. And there are some sad days. I don't want to make it seem like, oh, woe is me, but there are sad days because it's not the regular day of you get to go to your office and your people and your surroundings, and then you get to go home, and then on the weekend you're doing all these amazing things. So it's, I think, finding your own routine in your days, and that's just kind of the lifestyle of any end job. That's not a awesome 9 to 5.
Yeah. I mean, that's really interesting too, because like even when you're not working and you're technically like not necessarily getting paid, you kind of are working because now you're in Salt Lake City with a band and, you know, photographers and like press and all these people that you don't actually know.
Yeah.
So you kind of are on a little bit.
A little bit.
So trying to find a way not to be on.
Right. That's true. I guess the first 2 weeks of any tour, I try to just like be incognito. I'm like, I don't want to say anything, but I want them to come to me just because I feel like, especially with VIP, it's a little bit of that like last tier option on a tour in a sense of like a production wise, because we're not building a stage. I'm not putting together an entire, you know, amazing Post Malone 3, you know, tier stage. I'm checking fans in. But I would like to say, even though this is what we do as VIP, it's part of the whole production in and of itself. So I know it's an integral piece to the puzzle, if you will, but sometimes production maybe doesn't see, or not, I want to say production, but some people on the tour, maybe they don't see you like that. So for me, I try to go in with low expectations. I want to keep it quiet a little bit until kind of like people like warm up to me a little bit. And then I think after that 2-week mark, you end up making friends. People kind of know who you are. But it is true. Like nobody really knows you until you really, I guess like 2 or 3 months. And then Dame, do you really even know them? Like, are we friends? Like,
are we strangers? You know the version of them that's on
exactly
on tour and working.
Yes, exactly.
I'm taking this very helpfully because I'm going on the road in like 2 weeks. So
I know. That's
I'm
gonna be sick.
internalizing everything what you just said. I'm a little scared, but now I'm not as much.
No, I don't feel like it's a good thing to be scared because I feel like it has your guard up in a sense. So it's always good to be aware. But I think when it comes to the road, I've met so many amazing people that just actually wanted to help me. And I was surprised. I was like, I'm this girl. I just want to kind of keep myself to the side. And I remember one production coordinator telling me, don't make yourself small. And that really always stuck with me because I think I did. And especially as a woman in the industry, you never really want to, there's so many stigmas when it comes to women. I'm just a girl. But I appreciated her saying that because she had been in the industry for 40 years and she, you know, was noticing that I was kind of like taking a backseat, but it was my first tour. So I was like, I don't really want to come in hot, right? You don't want to be like, I'm this because I'm nothing. But she's like, feel free to come in, ask for a towel, like ask for where your dressing rooms are, like whatever you need, like I'm here for you. And that was really kind. And I think there are so many kind people that are really wanting to help you. And there's like one meanie. And that's like going to be anywhere you go, right? Like you're always going to have to navigate some coworker that you're not cool with. That's okay. Yeah. Roll off your shoulder. It's all good.
No, I appreciate the honesty. I think that's a huge thing that maybe when people are presented with like the option of touring with, especially on the artist side, it's like all amazing. And then you realize like, oh, there actually are so many other people you have to deal with.
I try to be as understanding of everybody's role. And if they're not understanding of mine, totally fine. We don't have to all be best friends. Like we don't have to go out there and all be a family. But what I will say is I'm very grateful for the people that I have met because to me, the people that you go out on the road with are way more important than the artists themselves. Like you hear some of the music, maybe you get to see like 3 shows full like run through out of like a 3-month run and you're really more so hanging out with everybody that's like behind the scenes. So if you have some good people, like 2, 3 like homies, I think that's amazing too.
Sweet. I want to take note of something you just said, which is might be like another misconception there is you just said you might catch 3 shows of the whole run.
You might. I don't know.
That's so funny. Like it's not even guaranteed that you'll catch the show.
No, because you're working. So right, like so when I went on tour with Guns N' Roses, such an epic show. I mean, it was awesome, and we had a lounge until I think halfway through their like 8:30. So they go on 8. We end at 8:30.
Yeah.
Then we have to break down, wrap up, do all our nightlies, financials. It's a lot of work in there. So then we're typing away. You look up, you're like, oh, okay, I hear like Sweet Child of Mine. That's really cool. Type. And then you're back at it with work. And so I probably wouldn't finish until maybe 11 o'clock. Yeah. Like again, not trying to say woe is me, but there's some stuff to be done. And then you get to go out there and see it if you can. So yeah, I mean, it's not always promised, but it's cool if it happens. And so, yeah.
You mentioned Guns N' Roses. What other artists have you been out on the road with?
So my first tour, I was able to go out with The Who, which was really special. They were they're legends. They're awesome, and they're rocking.
Is it typical to like start going out with like legends?
I don't know. I think I'm just like a very lucky lady. I'm a very, very lucky lady, and it was in between The Who and then Truly. Just tell the people that are saying, oh, when did you know you were going to go back on the road? Truthfully, I thought I never was. I thought the tour with The Who was my last go at it. And just because I hadn't ever been on the road, I didn't know anybody else, I really was like, this is it. And that's okay. And I got another job. I moved back into Boston by myself. And like a couple weeks into this job, I got a call and they're like, Guns N' Roses? I'm like, all right, like, sure. So in between the Guns N' Roses, I was offered another tour with Don Toliver, which was really fun. So I had never really listened to his music, but it was a really like epic. It was a cool scene to be a part of. But I think I've done a lot of lovely legends. So The Who, Don Toliver, Guns N' Roses. So I don't know. I mean, I would have to ask some other reps. It really just depends on what the availability is within their camp that they need, essentially. So.
Okay, that makes sense. And you kind of hinted at like thinking it was almost over and that you wouldn't necessarily sustain a career in this. So I am kind of curious, like, what's your opinion on the sustainability of a career? Because it's contract work, correct?
Correct. I mean, if you love doing VIP, it's what you love to do. Being within the production world is so different because you don't have any fan engagement. So I would say if you're looking to do VIP and you love it, then heck yeah, like get after it and keep going. And I think you could definitely create sustainability for yourself. And I feel the same way if you're in the production crew side. On the GNR kind of like end of the tour, everyone's like, what are you doing? What are you up to? And I was asking it was either a stage manager or someone in that field that goes to each location, like a site coordinator. So before each show, they fly out early and they like make sure the grounds are kind of like set and ready to go. And I was speaking to one of the gentlemen and I said, Chuck, what are you up to after this? He goes, I don't know. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean you don't know? Like, you're in this for 40 years. Like, what do you know? And he's like, it will come. Like, it will come. And it's so true. It really will come. And I think the keys to kind of it will come mentality is just being patient with it. Doing what you have to do and doing it well. That's all you can do, right? And then I would just also say being kind to everyone, no matter what. I have this cool backstage pass. And what? Like, it will expire when the tour is done. I don't need to be an asshole to anybody. I don't need to act like I'm better than anybody. I should be treating everybody with kindness and everybody the same exact way. And I feel like that really sometimes gets overlooked. But I think that a lot of VIP reps I've worked with have always kind of like stuck tried and true to that. Like, we are here. I'm very grateful to be in your venue. Thank you so much. Like, even if it was a crappy day, thank you so much.
And I want to highlight that you lead by example.
I'm trying.
I've worked some VIPs with you. One immediate example that I have is you brought donuts.
Oh, yeah.
And also, I do remember like this interaction that you had with a fan who eventually didn't even have VIP tickets. So they're not, when someone says that, they are no longer your responsibility.
Right.
But you went out of your way to help them and find their GA seats. And I thought that was very kind and what you should be doing, even though it's not part of 100%. The job description.
And they waited in the line and they were so nice about it. And I was like, let me take y'all down. And they were so cute. We actually ended up being from the same little town, which was cute. They're like,
that's
okay.
So wild.
And I was like, see you guys there. So they were really sweet. But I think it is going above and beyond because what else can we do to make their experience better? It's not about me. Like I got my dream. I got to be out here. Like, how can I pay for it? How can I pay it back? And I always think that's the way to do it.
Amen. I'm internalizing that as well for my future endeavors.
I can't wait for your tour.
So you kind of mentioned like the advice you'd have for someone in that role. I'm kind of wondering though, beyond that, like what advice do you have for anyone that's interested, whether it's an artist, production, or whatever, in a career on the road?
On the road. Well, first and foremost, I think you have to ask yourself, are you willing to really sacrifice your day-to-day leisures? And by leisures, I mean driving, enjoying a crisp breeze in your hair, going down the street to see your best friend, going to dinner parties, birthdays. There's things you're going to miss. And are you okay with that? So if you're cool with that, then okay, great. First steps to go. Second one is, are you cool with literally being taken out of your comfort zone in this like blink of an eye, like snap of your fingers? I feel like there has been so many instances where a bus breaks down, you're getting up, you're like, where the heck am I? Got to roll out of my bed, find another bus on the side of a highway. So it's always just like kind of with that lifestyle. Are you cool with that? But in the terms of working wise, I would say, do anything you can just to get your foot in the door. Work at a local venue. Don't even get paid. I know that sounds really bad, but if you're able to support yourself and you can kind of have that side hustle and then still work towards your dream, being a production runner is great, kind of like we talked about. But anywhere that's in the venue vicinity and just kind of getting your foot in the door. Online wise, I would say joining Facebook groups, joining a group called Gigs, recently just launched, called GIGGS, and you can make a whole profile. It's kind of like a Hinge or a Tinder for the industry, which is kind of silly, but also really cool. And you get to really highlight who you are, which is great. I would also take it a step further. Go on a LinkedIn, search your favorite like music festivals and see who kind of pops up in that realm. Say, hey, I'm willing to work and I'm willing to put myself out there. What do you need me to do? And just kind of blanket statement. And even if it's not something you're great at, like if you love VIP, but you're able to do merch, you know, to some extent, where is like that artist lying with merch counts, and is it something you're actually okay doing, or is it going to be, you know what I'm trying to say? But I would do something, anything, and just to get your foot in the door. Yeah. And Facebook and all those groups are great too.
And going off what you said about like the unpaid work, I think so many people are like, oh no, never take an unpaid job. And it's like, unfortunately, like we are all aware that working unpaid sucks. We are all aware of it. But the industry that is in place that we have nothing to do with has made it so that there are so many opportunities that you kind of have to make for yourself, and a lot of them are unpaid.
I know.
But a lot of them are unpaid because they're not even necessarily gigs. Like I've done a lot of things where I'm like, hey, can I go to this and do this? And they'll be like, yeah, I mean, I don't have a budget. I don't have anyone doing that. So if you want to do it, sure. And like,
you probably met some people out of it though.
Yeah, exactly. Like it is a fine line. Like I was at this festival and I hired an assistant for the day, and my other friend who was there, who was like my production guy, was being like, never take unpaid work. And I was like, you know what? You're wrong. Like you are wrong, because some of it, you don't, unless, like if you're looking for money, obviously don't take unpaid work. But if you are doing it for the love and for the connections, like it does have an ROI, if you will.
You gotta start somewhere though. You gotta grind. And that's why when people ask me to, you know, how much you're getting paid, what's your living situation like, I'm like, listen, I'm getting paid well, but I'm not like millions, and that's okay with me. It's more for me about experience. And same thing with the living situation. I'm not living on my own anymore. I was, but I moved all my stuff back home, and it just doesn't make sense at the moment for me to have a place to be, you know, putting out that cash when I'm not putting my head on that pillow at night. So
yeah, because you're going on tour soon.
I am going on tour soon.
How long is that? So how long are you going to be gone for?
So technically the tour is till the end of this year, which is crazy. But we do have a few weeks off in between. Like I think it's about 2 months on and then maybe like 2 weeks off, and then kind of the same schedule. So it's gonna be a ride. It's my longest tour yet. So I'm like, I need advice. I'm like, what should I do?
And you're going international?
I'm going international. My first international tour. I was super lucky to study abroad in Rome way back in the day, but I've never rode on a European tour bus. And I've seen videos of them, and they're really cool because the bottom is the lounge. It's a very large living and hanging out area. And then the top are where the bunks are. So in the US, it's reversed. Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, no, excuse me. There's no... I'm like, wait, where do I live? I'm like, what is happening? On a U.S. tour bus, there's just one level.
Yeah, isn't it just like so kind of beds and like a very minimal... And this actually has lounge space in Europe.
Yeah, there's a bigger lounge space. It's for the bus you get. We'll see. I'll send you a picture when I get on.
That's awesome. And like, I know we had talked about like, you know, you don't necessarily go on tour to have all these days off, but are you going to have some days off in like Europe and places you've never been before?
I actually haven't looked that deeply into the schedule because I've been so like zoned in on the first leg of US, but I think there might be a few days, but I know we're going to London and we're going to be there for a few. So playing at the O2, which is dream. As if I'm playing. We're playing at the O2. I was like, go catch me on stage. No, that would be a disgrace to everybody that would see me. We're going to be there, Amsterdam. So I've been there before, but I feel like I didn't get like enough time. Yeah. So if I get some, I think that's going to be go. Like, that's I'm sorry. So cool. I'm going to be walking a lot. So like, that's my workout.
Yeah.
Sure.
And here's another question for you. Are your off days like, are there like group activities, or is it like you kind of just fend for yourself, and if you have friends, you can do things together?
I think it's a little bit of both. Yeah. I love hanging out with people, but I also recharge like by myself. I need my me time to get to that social battery. But on my last tour, there was a good amount of young kids, young. I'm a young kid. I'm 28. Oh my gosh. But we hung out together a good amount. Made some dinner at some hotels. They have like a kitchen. I'm like, okay, kitchen. We'll like get a little pot. I'm like, let me chef this up. I can't even make anything but like a mac and cheese. But no, we had some good group hangouts. Going to the mall together. Target, bookstores. I love going to coffee shops. I try to see like what are the most popular ones on Master Tour, which is a popular kind of like scheduled database for all tours. They actually have stops that people have put in, and they this is a really good place. You should go there, go here, and I'm definitely going to utilize that a little bit more. So
that's super helpful. Like from learning about that, it seems like the industry is aware that like, yeah, this is a cool opportunity that you do get to travel. So like we want you to make the most of it as much as you can. Obviously you're here for work, but like here are some little things that we can do to help you along the way.
I think it should be a balance of everything. I know I've used that word balance a lot, but I think it's so important because you can so easily get consumed in the day. There's always going to be another show you need to advance for. There's always going to be someone missed a package. How can we send it to them? There's always going to be those, miscellaneous things that you need to get done. But I think it's also important to take care of yourself. And if that's taking a day to just do you, or if that's going out with friends and finding a tiki bar or a karaoke bar, then go do it. You're only doing this once. You won't ever get another Guns N' Roses tour. You might get to go out with them again, but it will never be that 2023 all-out GNR run. So enjoy it while you can, and that's what I always try to like remind myself when I'm in those moments of, should I really go to sleep right now, or should I go find a tiki bar?
That's the best advice I think you've given.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So I guess I just have a few more questions for you, and I don't even know if you can speak on this, but a lot of our listeners are independent artists, and I'm wondering like what advice do you have for them to get on the road beyond like making the opportunities for themselves? Like, is it possible for an independent artist to book shows for themselves?
Well, first off, I think we need to look at my good friend, as if I'm not friends with him at all, Mike period.
Yep.
He just put out a whole tour and he's independent completely, like no manager, no TM, nothing. So I think it can be done. I just think you have to really grind and decide what you really want for yourself. I think he has a really amazing focus, like handbook for himself. So maybe get him on here one day and ask him that. But I also think for independent artists that are a bit on the smaller side, reach out to bigger artists, in reach, DM, email, whatever you can do, and see if you can get on a bill at like one of their shows. If not, hey, you tried. What's the big miss? Yeah. Places like Big Night Live would be awesome to go to, and that kind of caliber and that number and that size. So I always tell, I've met with a few that have asked for my advice, and I wish I had more to give, but I just think it's the grind online and then reaching out with literally no shame. Yeah. Because if you know you're good at what you do and people really want to see you, get that like small market of kind of being, if you're in Boston, then do like smaller Boston areas. Don't try to go all out willy-nilly. Keep it centered and keep your fan base there first, and then that will kind of like expand, I think, instead of trying to be like, let's go to here and then Denver and then we're gonna go to New York. No, not yet. Let's just do Boston first. Let's try to like get our people here, and then we'll expand. That's huge. I'm in the process of booking a tour for an independent artist right now. Yes. And I was literally on the phone with him yesterday, and he was like, yeah, I mean, like, I'm big in Chicago. And I'm like, I know, but that's like the worst, like geographically centered place because we're in Boston. So I'm like, we ultimately decided like we are in a great spot. There's there's three major cities. We got Boston, New York, Philly. Let's not forget about Connecticut. Okay, well, it's forgotten. Okay, you're like, we're done. No, I'm kidding. But you're right. It's like you have things where you are. Yes. You don't necessarily just need to like throw all your eggs in the basket. True. Because you do those little shows with the advantage what you are with the lower budget. You actually make money from them, and then you have more money to invest in the Chicago show. Sure. And you also have had more experience and people behind you. So I definitely agree. It's like, yeah, the dreams, but like approach them with a realistic mindset. It might not be glamorous either. Just saying, like, you might not shower for like 3-4 days, and that's okay. Like, just like put a lot of body spray on and you're good to go. But it's not going to be glamorous at first, but I don't think anything is. Did you ever hear like a good story for a start with like, And then I got to the top. Okay, and like, where's the story? Like, where's the grind? Where's the journey? And I think like any younger artist that's really trying to make it and go for it, I commend you and I applaud you, because it is a grind. It is an absolute grind. So good for you guys out there.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, I just got 2 more questions for you. So you got a diverse experience. It spans music, film, social media, a couple bar gigs. I'm curious, what other career aspirations and goals you got?
So when I went into college, I was dead set on being in the special needs, special education kind of route. I love working with kids in that world. I know for a lot of kids with special needs, they need a routine. So for me at the time, I didn't think I was going to be able to become a teacher, because it's so important to have that routine for them. But with that being said, I was able to work some Special Olympics, which was really awesome. So I think after the music world, I want to take the live event, resume that I have and kind of go into the special needs community and that world. And something else might pop up, but that's something that I love. I always tell people, they say, what's after this? I'm like, either being a mom or working with kids, because there's no greater gift, I think, than being a mother. I think that's absolutely amazing. And this feels like a fever dream every day. So I'm like, what else is in between? I really don't know. So I just kind of give it to God. And I just think that everything I've been able to do has been so amazing. And I never could have imagined this. So I'm like, if I didn't imagine this, then something else has to be just as greater, because I got here somehow, some way. So,
wow, that is lovely to hear. That is a wonderful mindset.
I'm gonna wipe your tears. Just kidding.
All right, well, Ali Cesare, it has been a wonderful time chatting with you. I wrap up every single interview that I do with this question, unrelated to music and unrelated to your career. What are some goals you got in the near future?
Okay, I was actually thinking about this morning, and I am so serious when I say my these are not real goals, but I really want to be able to do a split.
Have we put in any work? Have we put in the grind?
We haven't put in the grind. But
so you just preached the grind for like 35 minutes, and you haven't even lifted a leg.
And I hear that. But what I'm thinking is that this is actually going to be my first tour where there's dancers. So I'm going to make friends with an awesome, amazing dancer, and they're going to push me to my limit. And I 2024 December. 2 splits, both legs. It's going to be great.
You're coming back on the podcast.
Just
split the whole time.
On this table. So yeah, that's my goal. So yeah.
That's awesome. Well, hopefully next time we'll see you.
Thank you. A little more flexible.
Yeah, you'll be in split mode. Well, thanks so much for coming on the Music Podcast, Ali Cesare. You're amazing.